in and lead the conversation. We would talk about what does monitoring look like. So we have accountability. These are the things that should rise to the top. These are the current focus items to show that the district is stable, is growing, and is at some point in line for consideration of exit from financial recovery. So Stephen and Hannah, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Rabel. I think that Dr. Rabel just introduced and I think really kind of provided an overview of some of the work that we've been doing to develop and to design this plan. The goal of the plan is to set a roadmap for the district. One of recovery, one of building and to regain a lot of strength from a financial perspective, but also from an academic and student outcomes perspective. And at the end of all of this, the aim and the hope is to rebuild capacity and to really empower the district's teachers, staff, community members, students to really lead your own futures. And part of that is making the case of progress. And the best way to do that is to track information over time. And so what happens after, hopefully tomorrow, is the beginning of the work. And part of that work involves capturing data, capturing information, and capturing stories over time as we start to reshape, rebuild, and really start to empower the school district to get back on its feet and move forward. So what that will look like is, I think, first of all, is at a high level, we will be working with Dr. Rabel and assigning different key points of contact for specific initiatives, for specific action steps, and really getting to a clear, definitive, measurable KPI, so to speak. And that data point will be collected at regular intervals. In some cases, it's monthly, some cases it's quarterly, some cases it's annually, and that's all detailed in the plan in the appendix. You can see that in Appendix E. And over time, this will be the basis for the district's arc of development. And hopefully, and in a couple of years, as progress is demonstrated, this information will inform and will be the basis for which the basis and the evidence that will be supporting your argument of ultimately exiting recovery. And so.
Okay, so pretty much Appendix E is going to drive that monitoring tool document. You'll have a portal where we'll upload the evidence officially. I would expect working very closely with Mrs. Coleman. Anticipation of eventual exit independence after the 5-year monitoring period, and this type of process would be embedded in her daily practices. Any comments, questions? Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so going back to the agenda, someone remind me to drop this. To drop my agenda. Okay. No, I'm going to go off script here for a second. I'm trying to drop my agenda. 2 fingers, right? And it's not dropping it. Is it?
You scrolling? Yes, it is. It's moving. But you clicked on the art. Unclick. See, you got the art. Click off of that.
See why I need you, Martha?
I know. Give me a minute. I'll take over. Give me a second. I'm still looking for some stuff.
Because you're drawing on your agenda.
I'm drawing. I'm an artist. So while we're waiting, how about this? Heather Johnson, what was that personal shout out you wanted to give to Maria Kotek?
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute. Today is her birthday, and she is sharing it with us. So a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Maria.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to just continue as Martha is switching over there. I already referenced the 3 board member vacancies. We do anticipate that maybe one will be appointed tomorrow night, and then another one who has shown interest, another candidate, perhaps in the near future. And we do know that others within the community have said that they may be interested. So we look forward to that. And that's very positive movement for the district. The Harrisburg budget impasse, certainly it has affected a lot of things. I'm very proud of the district, that the district is okay. I don't want to be smug and say the district is going to be okay long term. But in the absence of those revenues, which they would have otherwise received from Harrisburg, things feel pretty solid and it's beyond feel. We have evidence that the district can maintain itself for a little bit longer. I wouldn't want to try to quantify exactly how long that is, but keep in mind that every payroll here in the district is about $375,000. So that's what, a priority concern would be, to make sure we can cover that. Maria, and also Dana, it's okay. As I'm saying, we have those monies in the coffers right now. I just want to reference to future meetings. The goal would be to have designated individuals present. Tonight we have Mrs. Coleman. She's going to be presenting. And then in October, Tony Paul, the new director of curriculum instruction and assessment, has already said he's on board. And then you can see the others from the agenda that we hope to present. And feel free, please share best practices, ideas, suggestions that you have, similar to what you did in the spring last year when the principals each took turns talking about their vision, things that they wanted to do differently because of some things that they encountered, maybe that were problematic, or just visionary things that they went somewhere, they saw something, they read something, they thought something might be a very good fit here. So before I flip over to Mrs. Coleman, any comments? Okay, I also want to reference the next meeting is Wednesday, October 29th at 4 o'clock. Again, format virtual with an open link to the public. And Sonia has the floor for as long as she likes.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for you guys. So to my team, I apologize because some of this is a repeat for you, because when I thought about what to share, I just don't think it should be anything that hadn't been shared already, because I didn't know who would be at this meeting, and ensuring that the messaging and the work that we're doing really is consistent throughout, not just internal, but external. I think by now everyone knows that I always will start a meeting off with grounding us in our mission. You can move to the next slide. I'm not operating the presentation. Grounding us in our mission. And as I've always said, I think it's very important that when we come together collectively and to collaborate, that we understand what our mission is. And when we stay focused on that, we are working together and we're not challenging each other. It might be an idea, but not necessarily each other, and getting to the root cause and solving issues and concerns that we might have. Coupled with that is understanding what are our core beliefs here at Sto-Rox. Our core beliefs are deep down inside of us. What are those things we're passionate about, and what are those things that we believe in at our very core? And at our very core, it's the next slide, Martha, that our students are lifelong learners. That is ultimately our responsibility, is to ensure that we are equipping our students with what they need to really be productive citizens in our society. I was talking to Nancy. You can go to the next slide. And I was like, well, I don't really know what to share. Do people even want to hear about who I am, and is that important? And I guess it kind of is, because as I've told many people, you don't want other people sharing your story or making assumptions about who you are and what is your why in terms of doing this work. So I'm just going to share a little bit about myself. Most of you have heard these things, and I always add a little more about myself every time I tell this story, because I get a little more comfortable with folks and I share a little bit more. And I think one thing that I didn't share with this group, some people heard this, some didn't, is about how when I was in first grade, what a teacher who told my mom that I would never go to college. And so, hearing that at such a young age, that we determine what a kid will and won't be at an early age is unfair. And I think that might have been when I received my passion and mission in life. Like, I needed to prove this teacher wrong. And I wanted to go back all these years and say, I went to college and I have all these degrees and I'm going to have my doctorate. But I think it's important as educators that our impact can be so great on students' lives, and we don't realize it, that our words matter. And so, you know, not realizing that I would go into education, I didn't ultimately start my college career thinking I would be a teacher. I actually went to college to be a doctor. I wanted to be a cardiologist. And then I guess, you know, you kind of have to be able to like blood. And I was like, this isn't for me. About 6 months, almost a year to graduating, I decided, I don't want to be a doctor. And so, but I knew I wanted to work with kids. So I ultimately ended up graduating, getting a degree, a multi-layered degree, and went into law enforcement and was a probation officer and spent a lot of time working with kids and being in schools and putting kids in jail, and really realized that the stopgap to that is education. And I met a principal that said, you ever think about going back and becoming a teacher? And that's exactly what I did, and ended up teaching biology of all things, because I had so many years of chemistry, physics, science, anatomy. And so it was pretty easy for me to get pedagogy and post-bac and be able to teach science. And so fast forward some years, I went into administration. But while I was a teacher, and I think you guys know this, I actually was a director of a program for youth that were halfway between home and jail. And if they didn't finish my program, they went to jail. And so had a really, really high success rate with the students, and they were all males, you know. And so running that program and seeing what that impact could be on the other side, also while teaching, it's eye-opening. I mean, from kids from all walks of life, from the super wealthy to the super poor, were in my program, and I didn't see them any differently, other than they were students that I needed to have an impact on, so they had a chance in life. And so taught for several years. I was an assistant principal, then became a principal. But how I became a principal, and this is a story I don't tell many people, was really through tragedy. My principal mentor, we were supposed to be meeting at a concert. I talked to her on the phone, and she was like, I'm just going to take a nap and I'll meet you there. I get a call after the concert, couldn't find her. Did you hear Debbie passed away? Her picture is actually sitting here in my office. And so that Monday, you know, I get called into the superintendent's office, and they're like, hey, we need you to take over the building. When I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Don't want to do it. And so ultimately I did, and was just supposed to be for a short time. And then about 5 months later is when the state of Ohio started naming schools the lowest 5% of schools. That's when they started identifying schools as turnaround. And so I ultimately got the job and became the first turnaround principal, one of the first ones in Ohio, and was able to turn that school around. And that really started my work in school turnaround. I've been a curriculum consultant, was in Akron Public Schools for a long, long time. Was in Youngstown, actually went to Youngstown when they were in state receivership. And so that's why I tell people that's never where you want to be. I got hired by the state. It was an interview of 20 people. It was really strange, but I ended up going back to be the principal of the high school where I graduated. So I was able to work through some things, turn that school around, became chief of schools. Fast forward, you know, my mom was in a car accident. That's how I ended up in Tennessee, because people were like, how did you end up in Tennessee? And so I went there for 3 years, got hired as deputy turnaround superintendent for the state, working with schools that were identified, again, as poor performing schools. And then later went to work for a district school, got married, and now you guys inherited me. Lucky you. And so when I interviewed here, I had only applied a couple places because, you know, it's where my passion lied. And I felt like this was where I needed to be. And in all honesty, I think most people know this. I had other offers, but wanted to be here and chose to be here. And when I talk to people, they're shocked when I say I have a 1, a 3, a 5, and a 10-year plan, because when you don't plan, you plan to fail. And so, you know, that's just a little bit about me. And for those that had to hear part of that again, I won't apologize for it, but I think, you know, you can hear my passion come out when I talk about this work. And so my why is that I've seen when things have been really, really, you feel like there's no hope, or you feel like you can't move forward. I can say on the other end of that, you absolutely can. You absolutely can be a school that can be rewarded in a district for doing great things, because I've been there and been a part of that. And I just want to share in that and be a part of the great things that we're all going to do together as a district. And so in order for us to do that, I'm going to segue into the next slide. There are some things we have to focus on to get there. Our internal and external practices. I think that was something that I heard a lot about coming here. We don't have consistent practices, procedures, and we're working on those things. And I tell people, this isn't anything that's going to happen overnight, but we are making headway for a lot of things to happen very quickly, and that this year will be the hardest year for things, because we're not going to be given a lot of grace on some things that should have happened, that didn't happen, and now we need to ensure that it gets done. We're going to work on staff culture, because let's just be honest, staff has experienced a lot of turnover. And so, you know, I have to respect the fact that, you know, I have to rebuild trust with folks, that they know that I'm going to be here and stay here, and it's just not another person coming in. And in doing that, once staff culture is built, it bleeds into your student culture. And from that, it builds our reputation, that then builds achievement. All of those things go hand in hand. And once we build those systems and we build a culture of high expectations and excellence, it ultimately impacts your retention and enrollment. And I'm going to say, I know this for a fact. The school that I turned around in both cases, public schools, urban schools, had a waiting list to get into my school, a waiting list. And so Akron Public Schools, an open enrollment school district, I had a waiting list to get in, but it started with turning around the culture and what people believe, not only about the school, but about themselves and about the community. So having said that, I know firsthand those things can and will happen. In order for those things to continue to happen, we have to look at what our leadership. You can go to the next slide. This work starts with leadership, and it's just not, when I say leadership, I don't mean just building principal, superintendent, anyone in a leadership role. It starts there. And so when we build capacity in our leaders, we also have to then look at what is the time we put in. We look at our instructional practices. We look at our professional development. What materials are we putting in front of students? Okay, are we assessing students? When we assess them, are we intervening? Are we including parents in this information, which then leads to increasing our motivation? Next slide. Once our recovery plan is adopted, there are going to be 6 goals that'll be a part of a 5-year comprehensive strategic plan. And I won't read them to you, but there's going to be 6 of them. And within each goal, there's going to be key performance indicators, because you also have to have check marks along the way that says, in order for us to hit high academic achievement and excellence, here are the key performance indicators that are going to let us know that we've hit them. Here are the things we're going to do to ensure that we're hitting these pieces, so that we're measuring ourselves each year to say, are we hitting our goal? Absent that, then we're just putting something on a paper and never checking to see if we're achieving any of these things. So those will be the 6 goals. We'll have committees. I'll invite people to be a part of what should be our key performance indicators. But for the purposes of this year, we do have 2 academic priorities that there was no way I could wait for us to have our goals all the way mapped out. We needed priorities for this year. And our priority 1 is significantly impact academic achievement for all students by ensuring that we have a differentiated approach to engaging all learners in a rigorous, aligned curriculum that clarifies our academic model and its core instructional non-negotiables. And then the priority 2 goes with priority 1. In order to do that, I have to make sure we have a robust professional development structure that responds to the promise of high academic standards. I can't say we're going to have all these things in place, but I'm not supporting and training teachers and administrators to be able to deliver those things in the classroom and throughout their building. Next slide. So some of the things this year already is, we have a new director of curriculum, instruction, and assessment. I apologize for missing the comma there. My English teacher would be so upset with me. Oh my goodness. And what we've done is we've looked at how do we protect the things we already have in place. You can go to the next slide. And so with that, our instructional model is gradual release of responsibility merged with universal design for learning. And then within that, we're able to provide intervention and enrichment for our students. And then here's how that happens. Gradual release, or GRR, is the framework. UDL are the principles that work in conjunction and to create an effective and inclusive learning environment for all students. That's the next slide, Martha. I think she skipped it. There you go. So that's how the 2 fit together. One is a framework and the other one becomes the principles. So something that we've wrote out, you can go to the next slide, is in order to do this, because we really only have 1 more professional development day left this year, is we rolled it out. When I met with teachers, we said, we'll do a focus every month. And within the focus are materials or information to help them with what part of the framework we're in. And then we do learning tours, and principals are giving feedback. But coupled with that, in our principals meeting, I'm asking them to bring the feedback so we can make sure the feedback is aligned to what it is they should be looking for, so that we're ensuring that teachers are growing in their pedagogy and practices. Next slide. Things introduced this year in a way to support the whole child is we're working on our MTSS structure. So it is in progress. The district did map testing last year, but we only tested a little over 500 students. This year, I think we tested almost 96% of our students. Why that is so important, that means we're able to identify which kids need intervention and which kids need enrichment. That is going to help us close our achievement gap. It gets us a little bit closer to closing our achievement gap. We also are introducing reading and math intervention using Lexia, which is for English, and Alex, which is for math. Lexia English is an ELA program that is, or L program that is coming for our English language learners. this school year because our population has increased from the prior year. We also will be adding 712 ELA curriculum, which wasn't there before. We cannot expect our English scores to go up when we don't have a robust aligned ELA curriculum. And this year at the secondary level, we are 1-to-1 for our students, which will allow us to have students on Lexia and Alex. They can be on it at home when they're in intervention here at school. So they'll have more access to these programs. Next slide. Professional development is pushed in through PLCs for our teachers, for administrators at the district level. We have bi-weekly operations meeting, the special education department, which we know we are working to rebuild and correct some of the errors and submissions in that department. So they meet regularly to get the necessary training that they need to help close gaps and correct some of the things that happened in prior years. Principals will be attending monthly principal meetings. They're after school. They're the second Wednesday of every month. And then district leaders will be attending role aligned meetings at the AIU. We also have added, we've always had a director of student services and a Title IX coordinator. We have a new individual this year, Brittany Litzenbigler, and she has already created a new student services handbook. We have moved to co-teaching and inclusion model at our junior senior high. We have a special education teacher that is working in our virtual Vikings program. We are making improvements every day in special education compliance. We continue to strengthen our equitable access at all grade levels. And I know it's a struggle for folks because it's something that had not been done, but we should have been doing it. And we've improved and sent individuals to threat assessment training to ensure that we're staying on top and up to date on required trainings there. Our new business management office, Scott is here with us today. And then we also have a assistant business manager. She's not here with us today. And some of the things that they're working on, one is the creation of a business office handbook with procedures, department budgets, clear timelines. And we're almost like 95% moved away from JMA reliance. And those are the things that we'll be doing to move forward. You know, I said, and I've ended with people that when we say us, we, and our versus them, those, and they, it creates an atmosphere of separation when we use them, those, and they, but it creates an atmosphere of us, togetherness, and collaboration when we say us, we, are, and my. And so that is really what I will continue to fight for and push for this year and years to come. Any questions for me?
You know what? I'm going to ask you if you would maybe just share some of the talking points we've engaged with, talking about financial recovery, language, themes. You know, we are two different individuals. We use terminology a little bit differently, but the themes are the same. And if you could just kind of speak to that, because as I'm following along, I know there's an absolute connection between what you just presented, what your vision is for the district, and what's reflected in the amended recovery plan. So do you want to maybe just address that for those who may not be as familiar?
So I thought it was, well, not really funny, but funny to me as I read the recovery plan. To me, these are normal best practices that should have already been in place, and that honestly, many of the things we're doing but we don't even realize we're doing, and we just have not codified them into a system. So there's been some inconsistencies there, and we need to just codify them. Some of the things that are written in the recovery plan, again, I'm just like, we're doing these things. We need to systematize them. Or, oh, that's a plan that we have in place coming second semester or coming year 2. There is nothing in the plan. This is me, and I've read it backwards and forwards, because ultimately I'll be responsible for making sure those things happen, because I'm a person, I don't like failure, and I like to win. And so when I read through what was in there were no red flags that I went, oh my God, they are absolutely crazy if they think we're going to be able to do X. Because I would say so. I mean, I think everyone has met me, and I typically don't hold my tongue. And so I was pretty comfortable with 99.9% of what's in there. I think the only thing that I had a question about is maybe some of the timelines, and some of the timelines was more, I felt like they were more gracious. I'm like, well, that's probably what we need to be doing right now. But that's just me wanting to get things done and understanding that sometimes you've got to go slow to move fast. Is that enough sharing? Because I could go on.
No, I think
It's
that's
a
really
lot of
helpful.
pages, and it feels like a lot, but it's like, I always tell people, it's like a web. If you grab this one thing, it ends up impacting other areas, and you don't realize it. For example, if I'm in a PLC and I'm pushing in professional development, or I'm looking at data, I've now hit 6 areas of what's in the recovery plan, and you didn't even know it. It just feels like a lot because it's 133 pages. So, and that's just my 2 cents. And I'm not trying to sell it to anyone, because ultimately, it won't just be me. And when I say it's all of us, but I want to make sure we get it right. Right. And so I do believe that it's something we can do with ease, because a lot of it we're doing already. We've already started the work. Some of the changes that were made in it were made as a result of things that we're already doing.
That's a good point. I'm not sure if the committee remembers, but reasons to amend would include documenting performance that has already taken place and evidence of growth, having that on record, and then also shifting maybe to new priorities and so forth. And so, yeah, I absolutely agree that there's a lot of progress that has been made. Maybe it has not been archived in a sense, memorialized, but now we have the opportunity to do that. And I do want to, thank all the different agencies that have supported us along the way, from the Department of Ed to, Dr. Jacoby and her team. She's on site here today helping with a project that needs to be completed, and she has the expertise to do that. So we appreciate that very much. Any questions, comments, concerns anybody wants to bring up? Okay, that's Scott Reed, business manager there. All right, well, I'm not going to keep everybody for the sake of finishing at 5 o'clock. So we have 9 minutes remaining. I'm going to go ahead and close out. And just a reminder, October 29th, 4 o'clock, and we would expect that Tony Paul will give us a summary of what he's working on, and we'll go from there. Thank you, everybody, for your time, and happy birthday, Maria. Hope you have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
My apologies for joining late.